Charles Johnson Program.
Sorry about
Okay,
that,
let me
Charles.
start over.
Okay. Start.
uh, Charles Johnson Program Director for the Community Economic Resilience Fund Program at LAEDC. My background is in entertainment. I started out as a writer for a lot of the studios and emerged into film distribution for a couple of years before going back to get my MBA at Pepperdine. And started merging business and art. And while I was there, I saw an opportunity to work with streaming services. So after getting a patent, I opened my own ad tech business. Had that going for about 3 or 4 years, closed that down and got into economic development.
Got it. Got it.
And Charles, can you give Munir a little bit of the SURF and what it stands for and what your charge is for SURF?
Sure. So Community Economic Resilience Fund. So essentially it's a grant handed down from the state of California, a $600 million grant. And it's chopped up into 2 different phases. The first phase is $100 million that's divided equally, unfortunately, to each of the regions in California. California's chopped up into 13 different regions, LA County being one of them. We got the same amount of money as all the other regions, which is completely unfair. That's digressing. Yeah. However, that $5 million that we got to create one plan that's going to include 5 strategic projects, collaborative projects. This is community-driven projects, pilot projects that the LA region feel will create jobs for Black and Brown, mostly people in from disinvested communities, using environmentally sustainable services like hydrogen and solar and electric vehicles, those kind of things. That's the goal. So we're going through literally every sector we possibly can, certainly the ones that apply to Los Angeles, film, TV, and media being one of them, and finding ways for the middle roads to the big boys to get jobs for Black and Brown, in this case, in film and television, using environmentally sustainable tactics. So that's it, kind of in the grand scheme of things. But that's the pitch. Now coming from Charles, this is where I see like there's a lot of like smaller production companies that may be signed up to the SURF program, and this will benefit them. But from what I'm understanding about what you guys are doing at HeartBeat, you have training programs in place. And even if it's not about the money, you guys are paying for it out of your own pocket. There's ways to pair what you're doing with sources that's already in LA County, where you may not have to pay for it, or you can bring in more people to train.
Love it.
And really get them up to speed. This is a once, in as far as I know, this is a once, the first time in history this program like this has happened, because again, community driven, and this is where the small guy has the bigger voice. So if Warner Brothers wanted to join this right now, they're allowed to, but they're not allowed to participate in any money. They're only allowed to be there to support the smaller organizations. So obviously you guys aren't, you guys are, one of the heavy hitters, in the medium space, many majors, but you're not Warner Brothers. Exactly. So if Warner Brothers jumped on, they would be supporting you guys to make, come up with different training practices and stuff like that. So I think that, what you guys are doing is overlooked. I think that it can be expanded, and, having you guys involved, will attract more, organizations that can be involved. But I think you guys can really, really make a difference. This is, I don't think this can happen again. It's not a lot of money at the end of the day, because phase 2 of what we were talking about, like that first phase is 100 million. The second phase is 500 million that's sitting there. We don't know how much LA is going to get from that. That won't be divided equally. If it does, man, it's going to be hell to pay. But the strength of what we're doing right now would determine how much we get from that remaining 500 million. Plus, we still have the opportunity to do some matching funds. And by the way, and this is for you too, Kevin, is that coalition I was telling you about with the Dodgers, Lakers, and Clippers. They signed up yesterday. So I was successful in getting them to sign up. And we're going to try to, get the Angels to join that coalition. That's a completely different, strategic project. But who's to say that, that somebody, you guys don't have a vision of how you can partner with them, because it's still entertainment at the end of the day. But we can talk about that. You talk about that later on to see what the initiative that they have.
Charles, can you give Munir your title?
Yeah, I'm the program director. So I run a team of about 5 people right now. One of them being an analyst who hasn't come aboard yet. But LAEDC, with Los Angeles Economic Development Corporation, is the company that I work for that hired me. They have a department applied Institute of Economics. Essentially, it's the research arm for anything that they do. So we don't just like do things off the cuff.
Yeah.
Everything's backed by research, verifiable research, and that's used to leverage to help everybody make informed decisions. So
Absolutely.
we're the regional conveners. Our job is literally to bring as many organizations, businesses, stakeholders to the table, and that's the outreach, and then get you guys to engage, start talking to one another, see, kind of putting on your thinking caps to see how you can work together with one another.
Absolutely.
So it's gonna be a complicated task. It has been, because we're dealing with a lot of angry people throughout Los Angeles who haven't had a voice, and now they have a voice and they don't know how to use it because are not used to doing it.
Yeah.
And it's all those kind of things. I don't have a problem with that. When you're African American, you used to dealing with stuff like this. So
Absolutely.
but when Kevin was telling me about you guys, and I was like, I didn't know you had like a training program, and he sent me that deck. I'm like, man, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm a little mad at y'all, because when I went to film school, so I did 4 years of film school. Like, where the hell were you guys when I was in film school?
Right.
You too, Kevin Clark. I mean, you would help me out too.
Well, I'm the OG here, but I can tell you this is really a multi-pronged attack at trying to put people to work who are talented, overlooked, kind of just over and under, utilized. And that's really what I think Munir and I approach this, as trying to figure out how to take the talent, the nascent talent, and coach them up. And if they, could reach a process, you might hire them. So they were the novel, unique, let's say signatory that didn't exist. And, my thought process as a nonprofit organization. So they're very innovative in what they were trying to put together, but we're going to see if we can reboot this. I'm going to bring in the 5th guy. And Munir, you met this guy before. His name is Ted Milner.
Okay.
I'm going to have him introduce himself. But next, we're going to have Douglas Cowa. If you can, introduce yourself to Munir and a little bit more to Charles too, because you guys need to know each other.
Sure, absolutely. It's a pleasure to meet you, Munir. So Doug Call, I'm a business analyst for the Division of Apprenticeship Standards for the state of California's Department of Industrial Relations. And so I'm part of the program management team at DAS, and Dakar Foundation is one of our new established apprenticeship programs within the state. Right now, we're making a major push to try and grow apprenticeship. Gavin Newsom in 2019 set out a goal of getting up to 500,000 apprentices. So we're actively working to bolster California state registered apprenticeship. And we're doing that by really targeting new and innovative ways and kind of changing the way that people see apprenticeship from how typically it was built in the state, was trades, construction in that fashion. And now we're really branching out into IT, media, arts, entertainment, early care education, and a lot of other areas. And so we're looking for these unique partnerships to create more career pathways for people who sometimes don't have the opportunity to go to college or pay for college, And apprenticeship offers them that earn and learn model where they get their schooling for free and they're able to earn a sustainable living while getting that training.
Yeah. Love it.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna hold you for last, Munir. Ted, if you can, unmute and reintroduce yourself to Munir and to, I think, Charles. You met Charles at the Microsoft event we had, and then I think you and Doug are fresh, are new people. So go ahead, Ted.
Yes. My wife and I started an entertainment employment agency probably a little over 30 years. I'm a former professional baseball player, and after I stopped playing, she created this, and we service from Warner Brothers, Disney, Paramount, NBC, CBS, ABC, to many other smaller production companies. In the last 10 years, we've created a partnership with the White House under the Obama administration for HBCUs. So we house about 100 students each summer at Emerson College, and they're all paid internships, and their housing is free. 90% of those seniors have gone on to move into full-time positions. So as an agency separate from ECOP, we've employed hundreds of thousands of people that are working full-time in the industry, including probably some of the people you're familiar with. Jesse Collins Entertainment, his president, or I think she's the EVP, Dion. We placed Dion as an assistant to him years ago, and now she's co-producing on the Golden Globes and Super Bowl halftime. And I mean, she's just one example of many executives that are now having careers in the industry. So I'm always talking to Kevin about, how do we move this younger generation into a place where not only are they gaining jobs and winning those jobs, but they're maintaining them, and then they're growing within those companies. And that seems to be the greater concern of employers today. They have a lot of choices, but how do we make it sustainable for those students? So I find myself coaching a lot of students on not just how to interview, but how to sustain a job once you get into it. So that's what we do.
Love
Thank
it.
you, Ted. Okay, then the man of the hour. I'm just, thank you again, man, for joining us. But I'd love to know just, your thoughts and I'm just gonna shut up, man, and just share anything that you have off the top of your head, bro.
No, good to see you again, Ted. I remember we had our introductions before. Great job, actually, by the way. It was
Thank you, brother.
Interesting to hear some of the stuff. And I know Dion.
Okay.
So yeah, when you mentioned her name, like it really hit home. Like, wow, like that's a beautiful thing because she's.
And you know what, Dion didn't want the job with Jesse, and so
Really?
I teased Dion now, and Dion's like, Ted, Dion's right at you. She's like, Ted, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be no assistant no more. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, Dion, you need to interview. She said, Ted, yeah. I said, look, I got 10 people lined up to interview with him. I'm telling you now, you need an interview. After the interview, you don't want it, you'll know.
Yeah.
And so, she wanted the DJ. She wanted the DJ. And so, he was one of our speakers. Jesse came and spoke to our kids at Emerson, and so Dion was with him, of course, and we just laughed about it. But the opportunity, a success for opportunity. Absolutely. Create a pathway, create a door.
Yeah. So yeah, just to kind of echo that, and I think the idea of HeartBeat Academy, and specifically the Heart program, is to do exactly what you just said, is to kind of create an opportunity where people didn't even know they existed. One of the things that Kevin Hart and I talked about is he has this space. We have 40,000 square foot in 2 buildings. And, we do a lot of in-house production. We do some third-party rentals, but then we have days, sometimes weeks, where the stage just isn't working. It's not busy. And for me, that's just wasted time and wasted space, because the way I think is I don't look at any of it as just busy work. I look at it as real, like what I was put here to do. So if I can create a space, an opportunity, and introduce kids that have already showed some interest in TV and film, if I can introduce them to this space and let them be around mentors and people who are working in that space. I feel great about that. But I also want to bring in the kids who didn't necessarily want to be or think like the Deons that they wanted to be in this space, and then let them kind of expose them to something that they didn't know existed. Because just in our research and discussions and things like that, we found out that most kids in California specifically, and even our specifically our brown and black kids, they're jaded when it comes to Hollywood. Although it's, you know, this multi-billion-dollar industry that's in your backyard, they see actors or directors. They don't know the hundreds of jobs that fall in between. So if you're good with your hands and you like to build, you don't have to go be a carpenter. You can actually build sets and run and own your own company. But they don't know that. So the idea is the HeartBeat Academy resource training program is just going to bring them in, integrate them, let them see, you know what I mean? We even, at one point, I remember, Kevin, we were saying we were going to make them like the Red Coats. So they would actually be able to come in during a production. In some cases, we would put on a jacket so that everyone on the stage knows that this group of people are coming. And at any given point when we're not rolling, those kids can go talk to, or the people will come and talk to them and explain to them what they do in different departments. You know what I mean? Because to ask them what they want to do, they don't know what it is that they want to do. So we have to expose them to all of those things. And then, you know, once or twice, you know what I mean, a couple times, you know, that it'll be that group. And then once we kind of identify who has who is leaning towards a particular department in TV and film, then we'll be more specific and we'll kind of carve out some workshops and things like that. But again, the idea is just to kind of put them in situations where this is in your backyard. You didn't know it existed. Kevin Hart and I, and through this program, we want to introduce you to it. And long term, we want to be able to say that, you know, you got a certificate from HeartBeat Academy. You're certified. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a degree, but what it means is that when you can put that on your application, and, you know, just like Jesse Collins, like Kevin, he's friends with everyone. So if Jesse Collins got an interview or got someone in and he got a resume and it said they were certified at HeartBeat Academy, Jesse would pick up the phone and call me, and I could speak on that person's behalf. It's a stamp of approval, and often it's a camaraderie thing that is just built through that everyone knows what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more of our people in the game. And then the way I pitched it to HeartBeat Productions, that the actual production arm, was not only are we giving these kids an opportunity and exposing them to something that they didn't know existed, but we're also developing the next crop of senior executives, directors, actors, entertainers, so that we'll have first bid. Like we can spin off HeartBeat, the Heart program, into different types of creative programs. We're actually able to shoot different projects with them, and you know, and develop what they have to. Again, Charles, we could be bypassing some film school a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody. Everybody's doesn't have the ability financially or even the mindset to say, okay, I'm going to go dedicate 3 to 4 years of my life to do this thing, where sometimes they need to get to it immediately, which Douglas was talking about. Like, look, we need to be able to pay them a little something so that they can, you know, it's not necessarily a life wage where they can, you know, sustain themselves completely, but it's enough that it's an incentive to learn this. Because if we can put you here, then we're eventually going to help you build a career that you can, you know, hopefully develop some type of some incredible projects, some just career opportunities for yourself and others. You know what I mean? So in a nutshell, take all of that, and that is what the Heart program is.
Great.
And that's what I love about it. I'm sorry, Kevin, real fast, because Munir, he touched upon a lot of things why I was so attracted to this program. When I was in high school, I was accepted into this film workshop that was put us up in the dorms at UCLA for 2 weeks, kind of took us around, showed us the ropes, you know, exposed us to different aspects of the business. It cost a ton of money. Thank goodness the NAACP of one of the chapters in Illinois helped pay for that. But you know, it wasn't cheap, you know,
Yeah.
and that was, you know, it helped me to get into college,
Yeah.
you know, and that was, you know, this is 300 years ago. So it was, you know, more difficult to, you know, very few avenues to, you know,
Yeah.
get in, learn the business. No, it was just pre-entertainment tonight and all that stuff. So it was magic. You know how
Yeah.
stuff got on TV, you know,
Right.
so, so, you know, it was a different day and age, but to your point, you know, after I got in college, you know, I studied filmmaking, sucked at it. I was really good at writing, so I stuck with that. Came out, I still had to do all the film production classes, lighting, sound, all of the stuff. But I came out here, got a job at Warner Brothers pretty quickly, and I was a PA on one of the shows, Lois and Clark, the old Superman show. That was
Uh-huh.
my first job, was a PA on that, and I learned more in 4 months than I did in 4 years.
That's
So to
it.
your point, it's like you don't need college. It's essentially a trade school. Film school is a trade school, and if you can
Yeah.
learn that trade on the job, then why are you paying for college?
That's exactly it. And
Wow.
a lot
Yeah,
of
so
people don't
that's what
have
I
that
love about what you
time.
guys are doing.
Yeah, they just don't have the time to do the basics. You know what I mean? You have to go through all of these general education courses, you know, because they have to meet their quotas and they have to make sure that they get their funding. But
Right.
you know, let's get right to it. If you like this, if this works for you, if you feel like you can excel in this, we're gonna get a feel for that. You know what I mean? The mentors that I want to bring in and get involved we're gonna be working with these. Let's just say our group of 10, and then we'll break them off into pods of 4, and they'll have a mentor that's constantly dialed in with them. So we'll be able to identify who has the just the mindset for what particular position in TV and film. And then through that, I feel like, you know, we'll have major success because there is glamour that's associated with entertainment that you can still be part of it. You can be in it and around it, but not necessarily be on screen. You can have an incredible life. You can enjoy working in helping to develop and actually getting your name in credits on TV shows because you're working in the lighting or you're part of the set building crew. So these are things that I feel personally that if more kids were aware of these opportunities, that they would lean into it.
Yes.
What's happening is the guys, these union guys, are sharing this information with their kids and their nieces, their nephews, and those people are. So it's just it's a really quiet. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Silo. Yep.
We're
Secret
getting this
society.
money. Don't advertise if they're not asking. We're not telling type of situation.
Right.
Well, I feel like it's time to open that up. Like we should be participating in that as much as anyone else. And because we are on the other side of it, where we can actually hire who we want on the production side. And obviously the academy and the program is separate from productions, but that's always, we're tied together. Anytime there's a production that's happening, most likely they will give me a limited amount, you know, where I can say, okay, here's 5 of our people, put them on that set with you. You know what I'm saying? And then that'll also go like with the Jesse Collins stuff. Like Jesse, I've had conversations. We worked out together here at the gym. He and Dion here at HeartBeat. So we already had conversations about HeartBeat Academy and how they would get involved. Like their situation where people are giving away internships and apprenticeships. If they knew that it was coming from Kevin and they had the support behind it, it's easy. You know what I mean? We can walk to some of these places, but you know, we just need to have the team that's going to help us to, again, Charles, you know, I really appreciate what you were saying, that it's not always just about cutting a check, but just being able to provide services so that even if we're not receiving money, it's not costing us additional money to help put these kids through. You know what I'm saying? Again, and I'm not turning no money down because the program has to fund itself. Well, I'm not doing that. But, you know, again, I wanted to make sense for everybody. I want it to be a win-win. And I think that, you know, just based on how Kevin introduced me to you, the stuff that he was talking about, and then actually hear you speak it. And then also as far as what's going on with you as well, Douglas, I think that the program makes sense on its own. The fact that we have Kevin Hart and HeartBeat Productions that are supporting it. I think that'll help each of you to be able to go say, hey, this is the program. This is who we're getting a check from. Look at what Kevin is doing. He has green lights at all these studios. He's going to, you know, participate in this and make sure that this is happening at his stage. That generally will help everybody on the back end as well. And, you know,
Okay.
Yeah, he's not immune. Like, he understands that, you know, which is really why he was like, yeah, no, I love it. Do it. But Kevin Hart, I have to specify Kevin Hart. He's like, listen, Munir, I love it. I'm doing 400 things right now. Run it. Go.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm
Fair
here,
enough.
you know?
Right. And
Yeah, I get it.
I just like I said, this brings back so many memories, not just recent memories, but I have been looking for a very smart way to make people aware that there could be some structure to something that's very magical about what Munir is offering, which is mentorship. Most of the high schools, community colleges, 4 universities, they don't know that word. Because again, that's what I've been struggling to try and bring is mentorship to very structured environments where, you know, again, you know, this is kind of where relationships and people who almost can't even be paid to come in and try and provide access to exposure to all the things that they will never get in a classroom. I mean, and I know we have to work with the educational institutions, but I think that there's now a way to do it with mentorship still undergirding it, but having the apprenticeship program that now exists is a way to kind of find the best of both worlds, because the educational institutions are trying to catch up to how they can be in a structured pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship program. So I asked Doug to come on because there's now, and Munir, this is really where I've had to kind of become a student of a process that I didn't have before 4 years ago.
Right.
And I had to register with the Department of Labor, the federal government, to start thinking about how to get better at finding not only, you know, money, but finding some structure so somebody would say, hey, here's what you can do to find all the people who would then rally around what's smart.
Yeah.
So the Department of Labor, we got our federally registered apprenticeship program, and we kind of backed into it because Jay Tucker wrote our manifesto. It's called the Digital Pathway Initiative.
Yeah.
And when they saw the proposal for it, it was really kind of more interdisciplinary. It was digital media, it was tech, it was financial management, research, and then that component of storytelling was in it. And he wrote it out as a way for me to make sure that none of the things that a candidate could be exposed to would be missing. And this was written 8 years ago.
Right.
But the people that saw it at the federal government said, hey, man, let's, you know, kind of have you focused on one sector right now, which is arts, media, entertainment. That's the only sector that the government, at least the feds, had for fitting me in. And it took, you know, maybe about 3 months to go through the process. They had to do the, you know, the background checks and everything else. But it literally became a boilerplate way for us to understand how we can create a earn to learn model.
Yeah.
And what we did is we found the city of Los Angeles has a bucket of money called Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And that money has been what we've been able to pay our apprentices. We pay them $16.04 an hour so that they literally can listen to me. But put them on work-based learning, or we call it product-based learning, so that they can actually get the tech in their hands. Sometimes they got to take a walkie-talkie. They have to be collaborative in learning all parts of those 5 things that Jay Tucker laid out, the DPI thing. So that's what kind of gave us an open door to submit ourselves to the state of California.
Yeah.
We'll work with the feds, have a slightly different system on how they try to prepare people to get a registered apprenticeship program so they could onboard these apprentices and these pre-apprentices. So that's what
Right.
Doug is trying to, you know, help me with, because we just got approved, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Doug? And so we're still learning the game, but what it often does is it provides a lot of barriers for people, because it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of stuff that you gotta, you know, jump through. And it took us, for the feds, maybe 4 months. It took us 9 months for the state, because they're really serious about making sure that they do this thing in a way that's unique to the state of California. And they have,
You know,
the entertainment sector that we're in, but they have a lot of other non-traditional sectors that we can't really play in just yet, because they want us to stay focused on arts, media, and entertainment. Is that true, Doug? We're kind of stuck right now with arts, media, and entertainment. We can't get into ICT or digital media because that's the lane that we're registered in. And bring those kinds of candidates to people who would be the folks that don't really exist in arts, media, and entertainment, people who offer up opportunities, economic opportunities, like a real job at the end of the WIOA money that they get a chance to work off of. And we have approximately 2 different sources of WIOA money. We have WIOA money for the state of the city of Los Angeles and in the county.
Right.
$16.04 an hour is what we can get these people through some partnerships with people like the Brotherhood Crusade, Yo Watts, and we have another organization that we're working with to get these people a lot of the training that they need to really be able to meet people like Ted.
Got it.
Takes them through, it's called Transitional Age Youth World of Work. And they do about 20 hours of training on not only financial literacy, but, you know, how to shake somebody's hand, look them in the eye. And these are all Black and brown people who are coming literally post-pandemic. These people have been zombified, man. They're different from the people that we met before the pandemic.
It looks like we lost Thomas. I mean,
Charles. Yeah,
lost Charles. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's important that we really look at, you know, they've made it easier for us to try and find candidates that will take the process and give them all the resources, so that if they are really interested and focused, there's very few things that they won't be able to access as resources. There's the money, but there's also other resources for them. For the youth workforce money, there's potentially, again, available for them housing if there's homeless people or homelessness. There's other things that can deal with mental health and mental health issues, food stamps, childcare, all the things that would allow a candidate to not fall off in their ability to perform. So those are the things that we have that we didn't have before.
Nice. Okay. And Douglas is part of one of those pockets of money.
State of California. So Doug, can you tell Munir? Well, actually, I guess if you have any questions about what we have as the guidelines, because we actually went through the exercise of going through how to onboard these people, and basically how to do all the reporting and all the other things that will help us get to a 1-year program. After 1 year, then we're capable of getting employment, job training replacement. I think it's $3,500 per person for everybody that's trained. And Ted was on a call today with the apprenticeship network, where they actually talked about a lot of the seed funding to help offset the cost of training and onboarding these people. So there's a lot more than what we had before that will offset the cost and create more value for anybody that says, hey, man, well, we can afford to volunteer because it's not taking away, again, our resources and our time from our day jobs and our families.
Right.
So, Doug, is there anything that I've left off about maybe some highlights of what the apprenticeship program could do for employers like, you know, HeartBeat?
Yeah, I mean, I guess to start with, just addressing a few things. Like, for one, Kevin, you are not restricted by industry sector or anything like that. The difference is a set of standards is somewhat limited to, but you can continue to create and add on however you see fit. For instance, a lot of colleges manage their own programs, and they'll have everything from firefighter to early childhood education to IT. So you're definitely not limited in that sense. It's just a lot of work, to be honest, because you need a set of standards when you go into specific things. With the AIF, Apprenticeship Innovation Funding, this is something new that was just released about a month ago. We were the first in the country to do anything of its kind, and it's a reimbursement model for the costs that programs incur from running apprenticeship programs. And the goal is to make programs more sustainable so that they can continue to grow and add more apprentices. So it's $3,500 per apprentice per year, plus $1,000 for every graduation. That's the 2022 numbers that were just released, and people are starting to work on those reimbursements. And then we'll have 2023 coming out probably later this year as far as numbers. The kind of cool thing about that is it is set up to only new and innovative programs qualify. So this actually, we were withholding that funding from the traditional construction and trades, and it has to be in these new fields. Again, because that's our major focus, is building out in new areas instead of continuing to just kind of stay the same with how it's been with the status quo. We've created a lot of opportunities over time in those areas, but they are almost entirely union controlled. And because of that, it limits our ability to get to everyone that we need to get to. And so by going into these new areas, we're finding a lot of different ways. And for me, someone who's assigned to the AME sector, we run into similar issues as far as union control and wanting to limit the number of opportunities that they put out there and the easy access for people. And that's kind of the opposite of what our model really is trying to do, which is to create a pathway for everyone that's equitable so that people can find sustainable careers without needing connections or an extremely competitive way to get into a few spots. We're trying to just broaden that up throughout the state.
Great. Here's Charles back. Yeah, I just gave him the Zoom link again. And the goal that I have of setting a high standard of making sure that we give the state and the federal government a look at some of our partners is that we want to make sure that, you know, we're not only in compliance, but we want to make sure that everybody is in the earn to learn model. And I've been paying some of these people who've run out of WIOA money. I've been paying them out of my pocket so that we can continue to be in compliance with the federal government since we started with them. And what they've been able to do is climb that ladder of showcasing their portfolio work. And because they have now gotten a couple of more IMBD credits for some small projects, I'm now able to give them a chance to, you know, be placed with people that can really afford to give them a living wage. And our goal is try to get them to a prevailing wage because $16.04 an hour is not going to be a livable wage in the state of California.
Right.
So that's kind of where the structure has helped me, so I can think about coming back to somebody like you, so that when we start even sourcing or recruiting people, it doesn't really matter where they come from. As long as if they're 14 to 24, they're able to source money from the city of California, and it's 140 hours of worksite money that comes from the city. 20 hours again is paid TAWOW, Transitional Age Youth World of Work, and then after that, the county has an additional 250 hours at $16.04, so they could exhaust, you know, almost 300, what's 250 and 140, they can exhaust a lot of money. But after the money runs out, then, you know, if they haven't been able to get close to being placed, we failed in our ability to start training and coaching them up to being able to match their skills, knowledge, and capabilities with somebody who could offer up a career path that could allow them to convert from a candidate and apprentice to a real worker. So we don't want people to turn out using 150 and 140 and 250, that's 390 hours. And then you know, again, I got to pay them out of my pocket or you got to pay them. That's not the goal. The goal is
Right.
really try to find, you know, somebody, you know, that's really capable of telling them what kind of employer what kind of employee they're really looking for at the beginning, as opposed to the end.
Hey, Kev, I got to jump at 4:45.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So any last questions,
Let me-
suggestions, or comments before we break? Guys?
Yeah, real fast. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You're frozen a little bit, but we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, what happened with the phone? Especially actually, and Ted. So, what are the coalitions we got signed up to?
You're going in and out.
Yeah, Charles, I think Munir's got to jump. So what I want to do is offer up some notes so that Munir can see some of the things that we've actually talked about in real boilerplate. We can have the Department of Apprenticeship Standards from the state of California and the federal government, so you can see exactly what it is that we've got in writing. So I'm going to get that over to you. Oh, and then also a little bit more about some of the other potential funding to stand this thing up, and all the things that we can do to create some partnerships that we didn't have before, Munir. So I'll put this all in a resource guide. And again, there's a real, you know, magic to it, this mentorship.
Yeah.
So again, thank you guys for joining, and I'll put the note together. This has been great.
Yeah. So this will be the first of many, Charles. We'll be able to get into all of that stuff. But I'm excited about meeting you guys, and I really feel like, you know, we could get this thing moving. I'm ready.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Thank you
guys.
guys.